How's it going, everybody? So today I wanted to cover the topic of sleep. So sleep is something that I feel has gotten a good amount of attention in recent years, and deservedly so. Basically, the purpose of me doing this video, there's tons of videos out there, and I'll link some of them below that hone in on the importance of sleep, but I just want to make the importance of sleep well known to my audience and the people who subscribe to this YouTube channel. So in this video, we're going to go over why is sleep important. We will also go over how to properly manage sleep for weight loss, hypertrophy, and athletic performance as well. One of my motivations for doing this video, as I was reading through Mass Research Review, there was an article on sleep interventions and their effects on performance. And they reference a study in this article about a majority of athletes not getting adequate sleep. And to me, that's crazy, at least with my own experience and people that I have seen improve their sleep hygiene. It's crazy to me how even maybe professional athletes are, I think, leaving a lot on the table when they don't get enough sleep. And from my anecdotal experience and the people in my circle, I've talked to a lot of people I run into at the gym. Some people are touting and bragging that they only slept 4 hours. And you see this in business a lot too, where someone's, oh, I'm a hard worker, I only sleep 4 hours a night. And they just seem to be unaware of the deleterious effects on health and performance that not getting enough adequate sleep does have. Getting proper sleep helps aid in the repair of bodily systems, connective tissue and muscle tissue, amongst other things. It will decrease your injury risk, and it helps the release of certain hormones that are essential for athletic performance. This is just a few of the benefits of proper sleep, but I think it's important to note all of the disadvantages of getting improper sleep. There was a study, a randomized controlled trial that was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine titled "Insufficient Sleep Undermines Dietary Efforts to Reduce Adiposity," so to reduce fat tissue. In this study, the people who, I believe it was 5.5 versus 8 hours of sleep. The people who got 5.5 hours of sleep decreased their proportion of weight loss from fat by 55%, increased the loss of fat-free mass by 60%. And another study by Penev out of Chicago University titled "Sleep Loss Limits Fat Loss," the volunteers on average lost 6.6 pounds through the 14-day session, so both groups lost the same amount of weight. The group that got an adequate amount of sleep lost about the same amount of weight from fat-free mass as they did muscle mass. But the striking thing is that the group that got inadequate amounts of sleep lost, on average, only 1.3 pounds of fat and 5.3 pounds of fat-free mass out of the total 6.6 pounds that was lost in each group. Both of these studies tell me that your body prefers to use muscle tissue, a metabolically active tissue, as energy when you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep. Lack of sleep also can increase your blood pressure, increases your hunger hormone ghrelin, can lead to insulin resistance, increases cortisol levels. High cortisol levels are linked to increase in appetite and weight gain, decreases your testosterone levels, can potentially lead to early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, increases fatigue accumulation from exercise, may lead to autism in children, and may lead to gender disorders in children. This is by not allowing the proper release of sex hormones during puberty. Now, with all of those things stated, I think it's very common practice, and I've heard Stan Efferding say this before too, in the bodybuilding and fitness industry, to get a very limited amount of sleep to wake up to do your fasted cardio. Now, with all the things I just stated, it doesn't seem like that is an ideal scenario. It seems like if you just stayed in bed, you would probably lose more fat than if you got up with an inadequate amount of sleep and got on the treadmill. The article I mentioned earlier through Mass Research by Greg Nuckols that reviewed a sleep study stated that time spent sleeping was the most important variable, while other sleep interventions and sleep hygiene had mixed results. Athletes saw a marked performance with sleep extension, so 9 to 10 hours, and this is in athletes, not in general population. But it is something that is very interesting. And it's also crazy to think that not all athletes get an adequate amount of sleep, when it's showing here that actually extending the amount of a normal night of sleep is beneficial to them. Having a consistent sleep-wake schedule was something else they mentioned in there, so having consistent circadian rhythms. And another thing, I'm not sure if they mentioned this in the article, but getting to bed before 10 p.m. to kind of match a natural circadian rhythm. So now we get to sleep hygiene. Some of these recommendations may or may not benefit you, and I think that also shows in the research. There may be certain things that work super well with you but may not work super well with others, so this isn't a prescription. This is just things that I would suggest, especially if your sleep quality isn't super good or you're not getting that full 8 hours of sleep. So some things you can do are sleep in a dark room with blackout shades. I think this is pretty beneficial for myself, even because I don't actually sleep on a normal like sunrise sunset schedule. I just go to bed at 12 and wake up at 8. So a lot of the time the sunlight will wake me up too early and then I won't get a full night of sleep. Using a blackout mask or just like a blackout shades over your eyes. So instead of blacking out the room, just making it dark over your face. Wearing earplugs or noise canceling headphones, because those things may not actually consciously wake you up, but they may pull you out of REM sleep, which is not good for your sleep cycle. Keeping your room cool, and then also having maybe some kind of white noise. I kind of knocked this one out with sleeping with a fan to keep me cool, because that also provides a consistent noise that kind of helps me relax and go to sleep. Keep pets and children out of the bed if possible. I know this isn't ideal for a lot of people, but that would be something that is, especially if you're a high-level athlete, that would be really important. Try to avoid electronics 15 to 30 minutes before bed. And I like to say that this might be a good opportunity to read or visualize your workout for the next day. There have been studies that have shown that visualizing your workout in the first person actually does markedly improve performance. So that might be a good suggestion to do in that time. And then obviously a lot of our electronics have the blue light dimming setting. So I think a lot of people can manage that in their settings. And then contrary to popular belief, carbohydrates near bed do not impede fat loss. As long as your calories are controlled, you can have those carbohydrates whenever, and they're not going to affect your fat loss. And your brain still needs carbohydrates for energy while you sleep. And if it doesn't get those carbohydrates, your stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline may spike, and that may actually wake you up or pull you out of REM sleep. And then magnesium may help as well, so maybe some almonds. I always go for the whole food choice first. You could also supplement with it. I believe spinach does have magnesium as well. Now, I'm going to put up on the screen the Stop Bang questionnaire. So sleep apnea is a disorder that bodybuilders and weightlifters tend to suffer from a lot, which it's usually caused by the actual girth of your neck. Blocking what happens is it causes your airways to become blocked while you sleep, resulting in snoring and bouts of not breathing. And it's important to notice this isn't always correlative with body weight. There are people who have sleep apnea and also don't have a thick neck. It can just be genetic. Some important things to look at, so you can tally up your results from this questionnaire and then see if you have sleep apnea, even sometimes a mild case. I think the most important things to look at is, are you snoring and are you waking up tired? Because a lot of the time doctors won't treat mild cases of sleep apnea. So sleep apnea reduces your quality of sleep. It leads to hypoxemia, which is a low oxygen state. This in turn tells your body to produce more red blood cells, so there's more oxygen carrying throughout your system. Some athletes might hear that and think, oh wow, more endurance, more red blood cells. But when this is coupled with other conditions, it can actually lead to things like stroke and heart attack. So it's something that you want to monitor. It's something that you don't want to just leave to chance. You definitely want to be managing your sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can also decrease your strength and performance. It shortens your REM sleep, which is the most important part of your sleep. It decreases your thyroid hormone, increases your blood pressure, suppresses testosterone. So I just wanted to show you really quickly some things that I do for my sleep apnea. So I never got a sleep study. I just know I have it because I have a large neck. And so basically I had a Philips machine, but it was one of the older versions. And I kept ripping my mask off and I wasn't having great success with it. I got this one's the Dream Station. It's an auto PAP, so it will detect your sleep cycle and your apnea, and it will adjust the pressure based off of that. So you don't need a doctor to do it, although you can get a sleep study and they'll use the data from this CPAP to program your nighttime settings. Another thing you can do to test if you have sleep apnea is get a blood oximeter. If you are waking up with low blood oxygen, then that is a good sign that you have sleep apnea. It's also important to keep this around even if you're managing your sleep apnea, just in case, to make sure there's no leaks in your mask and you are complying. This will also tell you how long you actually breathe into the mask, so you can know how many hours you're getting a night, because I tend to rip it off. And that seems to be a problem with myself. This is something that works for me personally that I do, is I have to use a nasal spray. This one is a Lair Flow by Costco. And I think it helps clear my nasal passages so I do not rip off my mask. Other important things to note is just get a mask that's comfortable for yourself. Some people have the in-nose ones. That one is not comfortable for me at all. This one has actually been super comfortable. This one, the one that came with the machine. And then you can get a full face mask as well. They sell them on Amazon and things like that. So those are just some things that I do to manage my sleep apnea. Another thing is just keeping your face cool. And that might take you putting a ice pack on your face or your head. That'll also help you go to sleep sooner because you're cooling off your head. So naps, they may serve some benefit if you're doing 2 daily training sessions. I find that sometimes when I train really hard, I may just need a nap after, and a 20-minute nap, and I feel refreshed. Try not to sleep longer than 30 minutes because you may fall into REM sleep and be groggy, and that may interfere with your nighttime sleep. But naps are, one of those things, they may help a little bit, nothing too crazy. Alcohol and marijuana. If you are, someone involved in fitness and bodybuilding, you might not consume alcohol or use marijuana often, but these are just important things to note. Matthew Walker, who is a professor of neuroscience out of Berkeley, on Joe Rogan's podcast, stated that alcohol may delay and interfere with REM sleep, which is the most important phase of sleep. Like I mentioned, this is the time where I think a lot of those systems are getting repaired. Marijuana, I believe they're still doing research on, but it is hypothesized that it has similar effects, so it may be important to avoid that near bedtime. Another Mass article talked about protein consumption and sleep. Individuals with higher protein consumption sleep longer and have better sleep quality. If you're a bodybuilder, you're probably already getting adequate protein, but if you are not, I would say for a general population person who maybe just resistance trains like 4 times a week and doesn't do anything too crazy, 0.8 grams per pound is a great amount of protein. If you are an athlete or a bodybuilder, 0.8 grams to 1.2 grams per pound of lean body mass would be a great place to keep that out, just to make sure your sleep is covered. And then a final thing, I put this last because I think it's one of the as far as like the most underwhelming as far as research so far, blue light glasses. So I think there's only a couple of studies on blue light glasses. There was a Mass Research Review article by Eric Helms that stated subjects who wore blue light glasses fell asleep 7 minutes faster than control and had a better quality of sleep. He said there was some issues with control and blinding of the participants, so he would like to see these results replicated in other studies. As far as all the things I mentioned, I pretty much just try to do them all. As a bodybuilder trying to be the best that I can be, I look for these like 0.01% improvements in my sleep, in my training, and my nutrition. So I just try to cover all the bases if I can. A lot of these things don't take a lot of effort and they don't take a lot of money to do. So I just say, why not? I think overall, if you're adding up these 0.01% little things, 1% here, 3% here, you're going to get a marked improvement in, whatever modality you're trying to improve, in this case, sleep. So towards nighttime, I just try to wear the blue light glasses. I do find they help a little bit, and that may be anecdotal, but another thing that is important, that is if you feel one of these things helps you and the research doesn't necessarily support it, it may be good to just do. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, and that's a good segue here, is also dietary supplements, which I put last, which is, I would say, first of all, if you're going to think about considering a sleep aid, I would first look at your food variety consumption. So if you're getting enough magnesium, enough protein, enough micronutrients throughout the day, and then also maybe if you're consuming too much caffeine, especially close to bedtime, that would be something to look at. If you're still having problems after doing all the things I listed, melatonin may help you a little bit. And I found I was having trouble during my last prep with sleep, and I took a sleep aid by True Nutrition. It did help with the amount of time I stayed asleep, and that's just purely anecdotal. I can't support that with any evidence. But there may be some ingredients in there that do actually help the consistency of my sleep. And that's what I put in my last slide here that, like I mentioned, if it works for you, then it's okay to use, as long as it's not, something that's crazy expensive and it doesn't interfere with all the other things that you're doing. Some of these things may work. I mean, if doing some sort of meditation routine or reading a specific book helps you go to sleep, then that's something that you shouldn't throw out just because data doesn't support it. In summary, Most importantly, get enough sleep every night. 7 to 9 hours, and then if you're an athlete, it may be beneficial to get 9 to 10. Right now, with my training schedule, it's very hard and difficult to do that, so 8 is pretty good for me, and I just try to hit that. Try to have a consistent sleep schedule, going to sleep at the same time every day, waking up at the same time every morning. And don't worry too much about the minute details unless you're suffering from a condition, not getting adequate sleep, or trying to be a top-level athlete where the 1% difference can be monumental. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to try to do more videos like this in the future, so just leave a comment if you like the video or if you have any suggestions. Like this video as well and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to keep more consistent content coming. In the middle of a move right now and things have been a little crazy the last couple months, but as I get a more consistent schedule set up, I'll be doing these videos more and more consistent. Try to get up to 2 videos a week eventually, but right now at least 1. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers, and that means the world to me, everyone who's supported these videos and watches them and interacts with me on social media. Thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, we done rolling?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. God, people are so stupid. Do they really think I do all that shit to go to bed at night? Can't do this shit anymore.